Welcome back. Taxi commuters in Cape Town can breathe a sigh of relief. All operations will go back to normal tomorrow. Drivers and operators affiliated with CATA and CODETA taxi associations went on strike today. For more on this, I'm joined by Leslie Sikupela from the Cape Organization for the Democratic Taxi Association. We were supposed to speak to an official from CATA, but we're now speaking to another person regarding this matter. So you have several concerns, but costly impoundments and fines topping your agenda. Tell us more.
Good evening, yes, and good evening to the viewers. Basically, the main concerns were the manner at which the vehicles are being impounded and the excessive costs that goes along with the impoundment fees to release the vehicles. And also, as we heard during the morning, that besides the impoundment fees, which are very much high, the driver also has to pay a fine before the vehicle gets released. And recently we've got reports that they are starting to renting per day. If you don't have money to fetch your vehicle today and you wait maybe 2 weeks, after 2 weeks you must pay something like a 600 Rand for the daily rental and also for a nightly rental of another 6,000 Rand. So we think those excessive amounts of cash that you need to cough up to get your vehicle released is a bit unfair, because these vehicles are mostly financed vehicles.
But if you're driving unroadworthy vehicles, surely you should pay fines to actually get it released, because they shouldn't be on the roads in the first place.
Well, I agree with you to some extent, in the sense that you must be penalized if you drive an unroadworthy vehicle, but the penalties are too excessive. It's killing the business of the taxi operators. You must also understand, with COVID-19 also having an effect on our business, it's not as lucrative as it used to be. And also the fact that most of the vehicles are leased vehicles, and the banks are charging excessive interest to the operators, and it's not making anything easier. As you know, the taxi industry is not subsidized by government, and they must do their own way to make it profitable. So now these excessive fees, it's too excessive for someone to pay like 7,500 Rand plus a fine of 2,500 Rand to release the vehicle. At the end of the day, now when they put also rental on top of it, as per reports, it's not verified yet, but some members are reporting that they need to rent 600 per day, and also 600 for every night the vehicle spent in the impound facility.
You wouldn't be in this situation if proper checks and balances were done when it comes to the safety of these taxis on the street. So why are you calling the city out instead of actually making sure that all of the taxis on the road are actually roadworthy and are not being impounded?
Not all the taxis are roadworthy on the road, and you must understand that when you manage a fleet of vehicles, you see that vehicle maybe once every 2 weeks, or you don't see your vehicle for months. Some operators are in a position where their vehicles do not sleep at their houses because we do not have facilities to park the vehicles, and it's not safe for vehicles to be standing, a fleet of 5 to 6 vehicles standing in front of the house.
You know, okay, I get what you're saying. It's too much, but many people argue it's not the fault of the city that this is happening. If you had proper roadworthy vehicles on the road, they would not be impounded in the first place. So I'm saying to you, why don't you do proper checks in that regard to avoid this situation? Because let's face it, any business, you're not going to have them say, oh, I have too many stores, I can't go and check up on all of them to make sure that all of the safety measures are in place. Owners have the responsibility to make sure that their vehicles are roadworthy. The fact that they have so many vehicles that they can't look after them tells you that they're making a lot of money anyway.
I wouldn't agree with that on that one, because the only thing we're faulting the city for is for impounding the vehicles, which is the most foremost thing, is the pounding of vehicles and the charging of exorbitant fees to get their vehicles released.
But it wouldn't be impounded if the vehicles were roadworthy. That's what I'm trying to point out to you here. Mostly the vehicles are impounded because they do not have operating licenses, and for which is a problem in itself.
To give the operators operating licenses, they need to prevent their vehicles from being impounded. You see, now you are mixing the two things, because The one issue is vehicles without operating licenses. The other thing, it is unroadworthy. When you talk about unroadworthy, I'm not talking about a vehicle without an operating license. I'm specifically talking about the vehicles that you earlier referred to as vehicles who are not up to standard to be on the road. You understand? Those are two different things. So it's not only the roadworthy issue that is causing a vehicle to be impounded. In most cases, it is a permit issue. We've been asking government to legalize all the existing operators in the system, and they've got a list of all those existing operators in the system, which they can legalize so that but we've agreed with government that no more new affiliation, so that whoever's inside the industry who's operating illegal, if I can call it so, those must be legalized, be given permits, and then it wouldn't be such an outcry from the operators. So the operators are crying about the excessive fees that they need to pay to release their vehicles once their vehicles are being impounded.
Okay. Lastly, let's talk about the violence we saw unfold today. We had 3 Golden Arrow buses torched during this strike. It doesn't bode well for what you're actually trying to achieve here, because you're talking to the provincial government about letting up in terms of the regulations and the fines and prices, but then you have 3 buses torched during a strike.
Well, those are also reports that we got from circulation on social media. In fact, we do not believe everything we see on social media, and we haven't got confirmed reports of those yet. Yes, we condemn the burning of any sort of transport that is additional transport for the people to use when we are not operating. We do not approve of that, but it is also reports that we also get from social media, which we do not know if it's confirmed cases or confirmed yet.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Leslie Sikupela from the Cape Organization for the Democratic Taxi Association.